morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. I think y'all could have heard my pages flipping. I am are the two most strongest words in the English dictionary because after the word I am, you enter into the realm of God or the Creator, and whatever you create, you stay at that time as what you can manifest. So I am a Malakio, and that means seeker. And so I seek knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And as I find information, I share it with you. So welcome back to World of Akibaland's Understanding African Spirituality. I am Brother Ajay Okono Tehimba Tulanagwe. My name means messenger from God. It is my turn. Stand as a nation, for God is with us. I was blessed with that name. They gave it to me. I was given it to, and I believe I'm living it. Yeah. And so we welcome you here. We like you to know that we take a academic approach to understanding African spirituality. Why? Because it's not a lot of written text. There's when you're trying to take a look at African spirituality, yeah, there is definitely not a lot of written text. And so with it not being a lot of written text, we study. Well, let me see where you at. And they say if there was 2,200 different tribes in Africa, there's 2,200 different ways to express your spiritual self or your being, and no one forced theirs on anyone else. Now, do I have a church I go to? Absolutely. And joining the church and coming in, they said, bringing African spirituality inside a quote unquote Christian experience, we had to study. And so one of the books that we had to study was this was the first book that was recommended to study as we went along our Christian journey. Understanding so that we could see the African influence on current modern systems of spirituality, which is either Islam or Christianity, or the two most youngest means to give the Creator praise through lifestyle and pure worship. Right? Now, studying this book, we went through the areas in which, here I'm looking at my notes, which Africa and the continent and the spiritual systems gave contribution to connecting to a what they believe and what we believe we should believe, a religious universe where you can see harmony and balance in all things, so all things are sacred unto God. And this is why they were able to create the, if you was listening to, if you're coming over from African history class, their spirituality was the reason why they were able to create such great things. And I, as teaching Akiba Land Inspirational Sundays, um, I couldn't teach a Sunday class, a Sunday lesson, or a Sunday school, a Sunday church, or even doing sermons for adults. I couldn't do that without understanding the spirituality that manifested into the people where we are today. It makes sense understanding history if you didn't understand the people or the spirit that the journey through and with the people. So I went back. And so in that, we understand that in the African spirituality, there are four levels of spirituality. Three, sorry, which is monotheism, is only but one God. Polytheism, there's one God, supreme God, and under that, and that's what that Ndinka symbol you see right there, that's the supreme, that's a symbol for supreme God, right? So it means God supreme. It's one supreme God. But in polytheism, there are other gods. There's a supreme God, and there are lower gods or deities that God has given um, rights over certain areas of life and world. So if you can't reach God, you reach a deity. The God of water, we need rain. So you pray to the God of water to get prayers to God. The antecedents, because there's but one God that was created. And then you have animism, which is the consciousness of all things. Now, when you sit down and deal with African spirituality, they realize that everything is of God, and you can't mistreat one thing because it's God too. Mm, right? Even in war, in African spirituality, war, and if you studied with us with the development of Kush, they said we're only going to war with you because we know that you fell out of harmony with the Creator. So we're going to take you over. We're going to reconsecrate the temples in Kemet, and then we're going to give it back to you because we're going to bless you, and then we're going to turn your land back over to you and tell you to stop playing around and praise the Creator the right way. Live in harmony with man, live in harmony with the earth and nature, live in harmony with spirit, live in harmony with God. That was the reason to go to war if someone was out of harmony. Wow. Not, and when people say, oh, black folk went to war with black folk, yeah, but it was all spiritual. And then it also talked about increasing territory, kingdom building. You got fish, we got corn. Can we put our corn on a plate of fish with you? So let's come on in. That's how it happens. Now, studying African spirituality, we also realized that there were four different parts of African spirituality. Mtu, right? And that's all the beings on earth that have consciousness, right? And spiritual beings that have consciousness, that can think, a level of intelligence. Your grandmama passed away and you call her, I felt her in the room. That's consciousness. That's the Mtu. Me, I'm the Mtu. If they have deities, polytheism, Mtu, consciousness. The Kintu, all those things that don't. A book comes from the tree, right? It doesn't have consciousness, not the book, but it came from a tree. Which is the wood, the paper. It's of God. It's a divine tool. It's sacred. Kintu. So you won't find anything in an African environment that is not sacred. Mm, that's deep. That's deeper than some newer religions. Hantu. The Hantu is time. And there are two areas of time in the Hantu. I don't know if you can see that. The Sasa and the Zumani. The Sasa is your current now. There is no word in African spirituality for the name future. They didn't look to the future. How your slave masters use certain religious systems to have you look to the by and by. African spirituality don't have a word for that. They don't have a state for that. Why? Because they believed that the most sacred point in time is your right now, your sasa. Because God needs you to be your best at this second, not when you dead, not when you old and you scared of dying. In your now. That's how you can produce great empires. Because God is giving you great wisdom now to do what? Put it to use. Great knowledge. Wisdom is knowledge applied. So you get your knowledge, and then if you don't use it, you're wasting your sasa. Biggest sin is to waste your time not giving God the praise or becoming your best self. I sat down and said during Lent, during Resurrection Sunday, and Pentecost season to Pentecost Sunday, I need to experience my greatest self. So y'all be ready for so many amazing things that I have planned and producing coming to you. And then you have the Zamani. The Zamani is the past. So you don't live your Sasa, you don't live toward your future. There's no such thing. You live toward your Zamani, where you become the past. You're living toward your history. And people with long Zumanis are sacred because they have more time in the Sasa. So they have more wisdom. If they stay focused to time, time is a key in African spirituality, and how you use it is important. The fourth part is the Kuntu modality. how you express your spirit of God, right? And this is the follow up for all those who, I try to catch up because we could jump into the 10th chapter of this book in which we're on, but we want to make sure that if you're just joining us for the first time, you get a recap. So we go through this real fast. Now, the Kintu is the drums, it's the rituals, it's the feast, the dancing, the chanting, it's the prayers, it's everything on how you express your give God your praise. Life is a series of praise. Everything is sacred from sun up to sundown. It's praise. This is why we could do almost all things. Why? Because it was a part of how it's a part of how we praise. And I don't want to speak about it in past tense because this is still what we do. Our kuntu, our praise for being in our now. Wow. Hmm. I'm gonna have a conversation about that and slavery and how great the slaves were because of the modality and the hantu, how they use their time, even in oppression. That's deep. We might have to have that in a show we're developing. Yeah, I love to have that show. I'll save that for the new show we're developing this year. Yeah, it's coming before the end of the month, y'all. It's gonna be powerful. And then so in the if you look at each word, into, that is the spirit that flows through all things. Wow. It flows through all levels. Wow. NTU, into, is the spirit that flows through all things. What do we call it? We call it the Holy Spirit, right? They call it the Kuntu. Powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. We talked about the nature of God, which is no different than how current spiritual systems see it, all knowing, all seeing, and everywhere. It gets the last judgment, creator of all things, sustainer of all things. That's when we start talking about sustainer of all things, the work of God, God at work, providing for every animal, fish, air for the birds. Then you got photosynthesis, how water comes down, absorbed, steam goes up, and it's a cycle. Man, that's nothing but genius. That's God at work. Then we talked about nature and God, and how in African spirituality, plants can be sacred, animals can be sacred, mountains can be sacred, stones are sacred. My daughter and her mom went out crystal shopping, and I was like, "That's good." And a lot of people don't have crystals, don't have symbols, right? And I said, Ayam, when you walk into a crystal stop, it's a nature. It's something that God created. And if God is speaking to you through it, you can't choose it. It will choose you. So when you walk and you see something like, ooh, it's talking to you. When you look up the properties of that stone, you're gonna realize you need it. It was something that it was supposed to belong to you to help realign you to the presence and power of God. Water, presence and power of God. Fire can get you to the presence and power of God. Woo. The nature of God. That was a good section. Then the issue was the worship of God. And we talked about in the worship of God how there were different individuals who, like, if you feel like you can't get to God, then you have interceders. You have rain men that will help it rain. You have diviners that can pray and speak to your ancestors and speak to God and tell you what you're supposed to be doing here. You have rituals and where candle burning and song and dance, and then you have it was rituals. Oh, and then sacrifices. They did religious sacrifices with animals. Back in the day when it was primitive, they did humans too, but that thing they did away with that. And so animals and killing a fatted calf in a ritualistic experience. Kosher meat, you got to kill an animal a particular way and drain the blood a particular way to make the meat sacred to ingest. Mm, way to worship. From that, we talked about the deities. What? African deities. And in the African deities, we talked about, or the spirit realm, we dealt with the deities, spirits, and the living dead. What, the living dead? Oh, yes. The deities were the gods, smaller gods over than other gods. And did I have a? And if you in an African spiritual African history class, we had a we had an example by using Egyptian gods where they were deities, and we said, oh, Yoruba is the faith that has over 400 and something deities, because you may not be worthy to reach God. So you get a diviner or somebody to pray for you. They pray and go get to the deity, and the deity gets it to the creator. If the deity can perform what you need, then that's angels. It's what some people call them in Christianity, right? Other beings of spirit that were never human form that you could ask and speak to. And we say Yoruba have more deities than anybody, right? Now, the spirits are individuals who have passed away beyond 5 generations. That means nobody on earth remembers who they are. They just know their names, but have no recollection of what they look like or their personalities. Because they said spirit doesn't, you can't create nor destroy energy. It just exists where? Back in the experience of God. So I don't know, I don't know 5 generations before me. I don't. But they're spirits. So I can call on my ancestors and be like, yo, help. My ancestors, I was told I'm coming from a lineage of strong patriots, strong black males, and they stand behind me, ready for my command to do the things I need done. People always ask me, how can you do the things that you do? Because I don't walk by myself. I'm sorry, I come with an army. So when you attack me, look at your life after you done something negative against me and tell me if it was the same. And it's not. And that's literal, because I know somebody that does that. It works against me. They may say they do, but they work against me, and they're always struggling. You got to know when you dealing with. I used to call them, hashtag anointed pedigree. You can't mess with God's favorites, and then you can't mess with somebody who walks with an army of spirits who are here to help them fulfill what God has called them to do. Now, the living dead are those individuals who have passed away within your 5 generations. People who are still living on earth who remember them, keep their memory alive, keep their behaviors alive. You look just like them, act just like them. Sometimes you think just like them, right? You walk around singing songs. Why? Because she's grandma here. Why am I singing grandma's favorite song? Because she in the room with you. She's just transitioned to a spiritual realm, and you can still have access to it. This is the power of African spirituality. Now, when we incorporate that with the newer systems, woo! You want to talk about a black people walking in power? Man, I'll show you some things. Then we talked about the genesis of it all. We went through the different stories of the creation of man, how God created mankind. And we said everybody has a series of sacred myths. And for me, and I'll explain, the most powerful one for me is not Adam in the Garden of Eden. That one was weak compared to the one I heard or I read in the book, where one tribe believes that God made man and woman simultaneously. He knew that man and woman would need company, so he made them as husband and wife. They came to earth as husband and wife to produce and create life as husband and wife. Man wasn't superior than her in terms of who got here first or who came out of who, and woman wasn't superior than him. They came as the first institution of family. That's powerful. What we have is something that produces a patriotic sense of superiority, man over woman, not the joint connection of man and woman. That's a Genesis story, right? So now today we are looking at, and I flew through this, right? I'm way off the thing. We're looking at the ethnic groups, kinsmen, and the individual. Now, this is not a chapter that is deeply spiritual, right? But however, it explains the relationships or how African communities connect. Because we're going to go through the ethnic groups, through the kingsmen, through the individual, and then we're going to talk about the next chapters, talk about the individual's spiritual journey as it relates to the kingsmen and the ethnic group that they are a part of. When they say it takes a village to do what? To manifest the individual. Wow. Ain't that something? And so we today we're going to take a look at all things uh, in reference to the makeup, people makeup here. Make sure that this is okay. All right. So now I want my background dying. So now they say that all versions of human beings come out of Africa. And we already know this. We already know that. This is not something I don't know why my image is so low. This is not something that is new for us. We know that all beings come out of Africa. And they labeled four in the book. One was the Bushmanoid. Yeah, certain words tickle me. The Bushmanoid. And that's the pygmy. Smaller, black, like dude. Then you have the most recent development in Africa, which was the Caucasoid. White folks, European looking, all came out of Caucasus Mountains. Lot scientific ways to explain how you got white people. But we're not gonna go into that. We might go that in another class. And I believe you'll get that in African history class. We have a whole series on that in the library, People's Library. If y'all were here, you understand what the People's Library is if you watched African history class. And then they have the Mongoloid, came out of Africa, which is the Asian version of anything else, right? Ethnic groups, all ethnic groups comes out of Africa. And then you finally have the Negroid. It's out of this book. All out of the continent of Africa. And we know that. And so, and that Negroid you can find everywhere. That's all of us, all shades of us, right? Now, what they said was to be able to determine the different tribes, because what happened? I was about to jump because this is good, right? Is language. There are tons of different languages in Africa, different dialects. So when you're trying to figure out tribes, when tribal people meet tribal people, you can tell if their dialects are the same or a little bit different, a little bit twisted. But you have tons and tons. Look at the different languages in the various areas. Is one way they said, in terms of the tribes, and each tribe will have a different native language. Each tribe will have a different native language. How many tribes there are? Man, they said there are, was it 20 million in the Yoruba tribe today. So Yoruba is one tribe. In that tribe is 20 million people. Yoruba. What? Yoruba. So now you understand. I have a friend who's been calling me, asking me about the Yoruba faith, and I've been trying to help her as best as possible, and why it's being popular. It's 20 million people in the continent, and imagine they now spread across the globe. What? It's a lot of people, and so Yoruba is being blown up as being a spiritual sect to be a part of. Now, That's a polytheistic faith. So those of us who are monotheistic won't gravitate to understanding that particular African system. However, there are African systems that are monotheistic where there's just one God, but there are ways to give God, different ways to give God honor and praise, and African wisdom that goes along with that. Right. So, and then the thing is also when it nowadays, when you're dealing with modern times, what languages do tribes speak? Because in 1885, they carved up Africa. European society said, look, we need to take all these resources and we need to carve it up. And so those people who spoke, they carved up boundaries of tribes. Tribes were no longer able to connect, interact, or come together because of the Berlin Conference. Now, this again is a part of history, which is a part of African history, which is a part of African spirituality. How does that happen? Because they broke up tribes. So when you start talking about wars and what's going on, it's because people are sometimes trying to come bring back those boundaries of lines that were ripped apart, where this belongs to our family. We supposed to be a people. However, different tribes now speak multiple languages, right? And there are more than 2,100 different African dialects, right? The most common one was Swahili. Swahili has been the most common one, and a lot of them now are losing their native tongue because those who used to speak it are slowly fading away. However, they do some speak, native tongue and the other languages. They said if you call somebody who speak three languages, that's trilingual. You said you call somebody who speaks two languages, that's bilingual. You call somebody who speaks one language, that's American. And that's sad. But that's exactly how they exist. Now in that space, with the way Berlin carved them up, and it was because it was funny, but not funny, but a tragedy, ironic, when Berlin was chopped up to pieces. Berlin, they had a conference that destroyed the boundaries of Africa, where nations are now, now saying, you know what, after a while, after so many years of Cold War, and why are they so violent? Because they were trying to, certain providences were trying to regather the other providences. But since Europeans separated them, they said, well, we want to be independent. You got colonized by Germany. We got colonized by Poland. When we put Poland out, we still speak Polish, and whatever tribal languages we have, but you speak German. We want our independence. But then they said, wait a minute, but we were the heads of state according to our history. And since we were heads of state, we want you back into what we know. And they were fighting, fighting. Then after a while, the African countries had to say, let's just keep the boundaries or that we inherit. Let's just keep the boundaries that we inherit and learn how to work together. Now, I don't have something that I could show you here, but that's the issue with the Ukraine and Russia. Did you know Ukraine speaks a dialect of Russian? They come from the same ancestry. And so what Berlin did to Africa, same thing happened with Russia and the Ukraine. It was one nation, and something happened where they separated. Now Russia wants to be a great nation again. And so they're going to go to Ukraine and say, you coming back to join us because we used to be the prominent state. Ukraine said, no, we want to be our own. Russia said, nuh-uh, I'm going to show you what tribal war looks like. That's what you're seeing. What they forced us into, you see, now Russia, of course, does not have any hold on uh, Africa. If you look, there's no language where they speak Russian, and so Russia didn't occupy space in the continent of Africa. They just did. Um, Ukraine have students there, and interacting with Ukraine, and Ukraine now is deeply disrespecting Africans. Now, if you watched AfriStream, you would have this in your mental Rolodex. So make sure you watch AfriStream because we're gonna cover this. Now, another thing where we that helps us understand The ethnic groups are tribes. Now I use this as um, a concept to help you understand it. Where uh, in the Black Panther movie, you were able to see that Wakanda was a tribe, one nation, big tribe. Inside that tribe, right? Different tribe. Now you couldn't. Now when you were born into a clan, you can't opt out of the clan, right? You're born into a tribe, and the people cannot change memberships depending on what tribe you are. So if you in one tribe, you in that tribe. You can't switch to another tribe. Why? Because that tribe belongs to you. So Wakanda didn't have any existing tribes, right? Because it was just Wakanda. Now, if you had other states, other African states, that's different. And so, and in the kinship of tribal kinships, there are there are. Let me go back. There's nothing more sacred than the bloodline that connects them. They'll never be at each other. Never be at each other. When you're a part of a tribe, that's it. It doesn't matter your differences. You're not hurting each other. And then also there in African spirituality and in these tribes, they you might share certain there's no conversion. So if I'm a Yoruba and you're a Shanti, tribe and tribe, Yoruba does not convert Ashanti to be Yoruba. Ashanti doesn't convert Yoruba to be Ashanti. No, you're Yoruba, we're Ashanti. Line down the wrong. We don't cross it. There's no conversion. You're born into what you're born into. Tribal, right? Your spiritual systems come from that. Tribal. Because who you are as a people is defined by how you give praise. Tribal. And that's deeply, deeply important. Now they may share habits, dances, sacred rituals, combating magics, just different things as tribal. They may share borrowed wisdom, but there is no switching off, switching on. Yeah. You can be born into a tribe, a people, or a society, but you cannot change the membership. You know how black folk try not to be black, and then when you ask black people to be black, they get offended and they don't like anything black. Now, white folks got us hating ourselves, but we can't even enjoy who God called us to be. And then when you're trying to be black, black folk look at you and be like, "You ain't better than me." What? I'm just trying to embrace the tribe that God made us a part of, learning that culture, that history, the vibrance of it. How important is that? The blood bond of is one's strongest of African tradition in life, and that's real. Even though Umpaka, yeah, we share the same tribe. We in the same tribe. We may not agree the same. Now I'm not gonna hurt you. That's why I couldn't understand when old dude went joined uh Killmonger, right? However, good lesson. However, Killmonger when he went, it showed that he was sacred. He was a part of the tribe. That's that one love. Yeah, they made sure that even though we left you here, we still left you with a mark of the tribe. So instantly he had a right to the throne. Mm, that's the sacredness bond of blood. Imagine if black people, we talk about Pan Africanism. Imagine if we could sit down and accept ourselves as a tribe, all of African diaspora. What could we do as a that's kingdom building. I don't know what everybody else called kingdom building, but that's kingdom building on a whole nother extreme. Because then you'll have Africans, people of African descent. You'll have Mexicans. You'll have Irishmen. We have a tribe, and there are multiple tribes on the planet, and then we will be able to work together as a people. all across the globe because our tribe is everywhere, right? That's that tribe. And was it that relationship is tribe controls the relationship of community. And in every tribe, there is a, a tomitic tomitic symbol, a tomitic symbol in tribes, right? Or in kinsmen, a tomitic symbol helps you symbolize what that who or what that tribe represent. Mm. Now you understand the Black Panther. You understand the Rhino. You understand the people with the shields. Because some tribes are, and when you go and if you see them standing on the waterfall, each tribe had to put when they or in the room. Each tribe or clan in the tribe had different markings and scars. It is to signify who you are in God. This bloodline. This bloodline is about this. This bloodline is this. This bloodline is this. Still one people though. Multiple kinsman systems is a vast network of individuals related or connected. When you meet a stranger in the tribe, right? So you're in the same tribe, you're walking, you come to a different village, a different something, and you meet a stranger. You what tribe are you? And you're in the same tribe, they actually go about the process of trying to figure out how they are connected. Going through the line and the lineage of who their father is, and their father's father, and their father's father's father, and the father's grandfather. And so after a while, you realize, and it's a horizontal expression. So everything that goes straight across, horizontal, right? Until they can find a sense of, because everybody's a mother, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. You have hundreds of mothers. I remember a brother who was in our community who was graduating. He went to Texas. He was graduating college, and he got the chance to speak. I think he was a valedictorian, and he they was like, "Why didn't you thank your mother?" Because he didn't say nothing about his mother or his father. He just talked about his village. He said, "Because I had plenty of mothers." He said, "Growing up in my village, I didn't have to stay in the house. I mean, I could have been up to in two houses down, eating dinner, sleeping with my best friend. It's just one tribe, one family. My family didn't worry. When I come home, where have you been? Why didn't you come home? Okay, well, how are they doing? It wasn't like you got in punishment. Can you imagine living and I can't imagine that level of I can't imagine the level of closeness because my community used to live like that. But I can't imagine it here, man. Sister, daughter walking outside the door and never come. Man, what? Where you been? Where you at? Who you was with? Did you eat? You know what I'm saying? You know how you at your friend's house and you coming home and did you eat? Because you don't know if people are going to treat their kids the way that way you treat yours. But in the tribe, everything is sacred in everybody's family. So you never, when you meet a stranger, you find out how you're connected. And so you go through that horizontal search. And then there's that vertical search. Talking to those ancestors who are about those ancestors who are gone before. So there's a connection in that, you're looking for your kinsman, that kinship, that relationship that combines a tribe of people. How are we connected? And so they knew that if they destroyed our names, we could never find our tribes. They changed our language, we could never find our tribes. We would never find a sense of root and belonging of the power in which we are. That hurt us. So now, just checking the time. Then you have clans. Now this is another thing. That's why I'm gonna keep this up. Clans. You have a clan, and the clan is like mostly time you trace a clan back through their fathers. Now they do have matriarchic tribes like in West Africa and Central Africa where you can trace your lineage through your mother. But most tribes are traced by their fathers. And every tribe, like the not the like every clan, it's a sorry. Every clan, so you have a tribe, a bigger tribe. A clan is a subdivision of a tribe. So if you remember, Black Panther, that whole group was a tribe. But in that tribe, you see it, You had different clans. Each clan, so the tribe has a symbol, which was the Black Panther. But each family had their own symbol, and some of these symbols, the Tamitic, Tamonic, T-O-T, Tokmetic symbols can be living or non-living. They can be animals, like sometimes you will see African masks. When Killmonger went into the thing, and they said, well, where's this from? And nope, that's wrong. It was from this, and he knew the tribe. Why? Because that was the symbol of the tribe, that mask. So sometimes you will see people wearing masks or having masks or buying masks. It represents a particular tribe. Be careful. Some of them, some represents deities that are positive and negative. So you also got to be careful of that too. But they have those symbols, right? And the thing about that is you can't marry within your own clan, because that's like your family. You know what I'm saying? I can't marry anybody in my clan. Now, whoever my daddy was, you know what I mean, and my daddy's daddy and my daddy's daddy's daddy, whoever they produced, I can't marry them. Why? Because that's my clan in a tribe of black folk. Right? I can't marry people in my own clan. That's not Christian. That's African. Again, we said that this is we're dealing with the how the community is set up, because when we get to the individual and the individual's spiritual journey, you're going to understand how that relates to a people's spiritual awareness of their being. So this is why this is important, right? And so then now you break down from that clan to a family, an African family. And a family is considered or an uh like we consider family, which is aunts, uncles, cousins, grandmas, grandpas, it's everybody. That's horizontal and vertical. Horizontal is those who are still living, vertical are those who transitioned. And then family also, and well, the concept of extended family, we took the concept of extended family in slavery and said it's just whoever is with us. That wasn't the basis of extended family. Extended family in the African spirituality before the colonization and slavery. Extended family meant that a man with multiple wives had two houses. And so he had a family in one house and an extended family in another house, or more than one, three houses. I read a story about a man who had 200 wives on the same compound. That family lived in it when I didn't even get to the compound yet, right? But surviving members also must remember. That's the thing, that vertical. You got to remember the departed, your family. That's the sacred, that blood connection. And so one family can live on one compound. And so say that man had multiple wives. Say if the brother in the red shirt was the father, and a lot of the older women are his wives, and all those kids are his children, and each wife has their own home. I'm gonna say that again because there's something black folk doing nowadays where they having multiple wives, but each wife has their own home. Now, if there are concepts, I know a family where, yeah, he made sure that all his wives had houses, but of course they started together and they brought the land, got the house, and built the houses or purchased the houses around where they all connected. The brother died, I read the story, he recently died maybe 2 years ago, had 200 wives and more than 200 children, all lived in the same compound. That's the extended family. We here, and with the dynamics of slavery, created a new concept of extended family. Like, yo, whoever you with is who you with. That's your extended family. Why? Because we don't know our family. Even to this day, we can't go 5 generations deep. But now they say not only are you supposed to know who is living, but you're supposed to also know who's dead. And my family is finally going through the process of trying to get to know as much as we can, you know, as possible. And so you always got to stay in touch with your ancestors. Those who are living have a divine obligation to remember those who transitioned. It's a part of community. You have to remember those who transitioned. That relationship is key, and it's all outdoors. When we talked about compound, where those houses there might be multiple wives with different children with one husband. It could be two brothers who share a compound family, right? Now let's not get it twisted. When we talk about compound, bang, that's what they look like now. This is old school family compound, right? Within a tribe. This is new school. So you get it. So we're gonna leave it here because I don't want to give you a depiction that African spirituality and communities are existing in a primitive state, because they're not. They're modernizing, and they're contacting or connecting with the world, and that's the process of this. We're trying to bring African spirituality into our modern lives so we can have as much power as possible. Um, Other images of family is not only your ancestors are important, but you also have to remember those ancestors who have yet been born, kids. Yeah, those are sacred too. So there's you live on behalf of making sure that those spirits who are preparing to come back or come to a physical existence have a foundation to stand on. And so, because that bond is so important, not having kids, well, not having kids affects the death of the entire community. Not being able to move forward as a clan, as a tribe, not having children affects the death of the existence of a whole family. Why are they having kids? Because they believe it's sacred. Because the kids are the future hope, the future needs, the development, growth of a people, of a family. That's it. And so when you don't have children, that's why, and they always are, when are you going to have babies? They're looking at that because they're wanting the continuation. Because if grandma's passing away and you don't have any kids, or your mama passing away and you don't have any children, your mama knows that she will be forgotten the second that you die. This is unconscious. This is unconscious spirituality, when everybody's looking for children, not just to have kids, because it's a continuing of their own spirit. That's why these connections are so important, because they know that when they transition over, I have someone to feed power to. Or if I don't, I'm going to just be here. So individuals who stop having kids, choose not to have kids, and quit having kids, kill, literally kill the opportunity of family growth. Ain't that something? And that gave me an awareness. That was the most profound thought that I had. That gave me a deep awareness when I was reading it. And I'll share it with some folks. Not today, though. But that's what it is. And so in that, you have, from that you have the tribe, you have a clan, and then you have family. Now your household. Your household is how they define, it's the smaller unit of family, and it could be, man with his two wives and the kids, right? And they have the different houses in that household. Now the immediate family is called the family at night. That's those who are in that house at night. But it said that they all live together, and that concept that it takes a village. It takes a village. The life of a child and the development of a child to be, and this is why you don't convert to another clan or another tribe, because your whole life is a ritual, it's a spiritual journey. It is a movement toward your participation of your greater self within the community. And so everything in that community, that's why I said it takes a village to get a child to their awareness of the God in them. That's why this is not a spiritual chapter, but it's a foundation to get us to start dealing with, woo, the individual. You are part of a tribe that has a spiritual destiny, that is a part of a clan that has a spiritual destiny, that you where you now you're a part of a family that has a spiritual destiny, and you live in a household that has a spiritual identity. And all of that to the individual is you go through rites of passages. So by the time you reach certain ages, everybody has poured so much into you. There are rites of development and growth. And this ensures that a tribe can continue. So the individual is not about himself. He's about the extension of the family. Your spiritual journey, and it's sad, but in African spirituality, your spiritual journey is a journey about your own self awareness as it relates to how you participate in your tribe, in your clan, in your family, and in your household. What do you represent spiritually? Birth is not enough, the book says. Rites of passages are a mandate to incorporate someone in a community. That's why you can't go nowhere else. It takes your whole life to understand who you are, and it takes a community to get you there. Individuals out here trying to, I can find God on my own. Someone lied to you deeply because you can't. That's the critical bond of family. One of my, well, not one, uh, the Babalao, which is a spiritual guide and teacher that I talked to, he said he remembered when he was young, and his family's Southern, right? He went to West Ghana to embark on his African journey. He said he brought a girl home, and his aunt looked at him and said, "You are not bringing that girl into our bloodline. You about to stop." He said, "You want to have fun? You want to sow some wild oats? Sow them, but you ain't bringing her into no blood into this bloodline. Why? Because that's an eternity." So when you're dealing with the development of an individual, you're dealing with their spiritual awareness of themselves and their connection to what their purpose is. And that takes a people. So everything about that child's life or that person's life is about getting that individual to manifest their identity of the group. I am because we are. That's what that is. So no individual can find his destiny without the support of community. And they say God made man. Now, God, this is the Genesis, right? Now, in African spirituality, it's man's job to do what God did. If God made man, birthed you, now it's man's job to make man. Meaning that it is the community, and then I don't mean man as in man as in mankind. And then when you have a child, it is the community's job to bring that individual back to God, or raise them up, because you don't take, because just because he's born, he doesn't mean he's not disconnected from God. But it takes a community to maintain someone's consciousness to God from an infancy. And so, World of Akibaland, we seek to make sure that children, as young as possible, can have an experience of always feeling connected to the Creator, connected to their families, connected to their communities, connected to their clans, their tribes. So that means, because life, it says, life is a religious transaction where everything is divine, and there is nothing that an individual in African spirituality, an African community, there is nothing this individual that goes through that is not connected to God. So now we're going to take our time in the up and coming areas to understand what an individual goes through from birth to death as a spiritual journey, because it's all spiritual. One sister, and I'm gonna have to start doing excerpts of, and I'll say Sister Kimata, One Love. She said, I said, sister, I asked her on the African Speaks Tuesday nights. I asked, I said, so when does a child experience, uh, how early can you teach a child the experience of God, the individual? She said it starts when the child comes out the womb. Wow. She said all that goo goo gaga hugging, that's the nurturing of God. When he hears the voice of his earthly father that he heard through the belly. You heard me in the womb, and one of these days you will hear the voice of your father through the womb of the spirit that gets you to God. Woo! I just came out with that one. So we're going to understand the journey as we go down, because we have the systems now, the basis systems, and we understand the connection that the individual has to community, to family, to the tribe. The identity of the tribe is everything is of God. We went through that in terms of how people, different tribes see it, and hopefully now we can go through a journey where a child is born, a community is engaged. Like my name is Ajay. We had African names at birth. Some of us in my family, One Love. My cousin Amina has the African name Amina and the Christian name Letitia. When she posted her page, Letitia, I was like, who the hell is that? Because I only knew Amina, and I was opposite. She knew my slave name. I'll say it, Clayton, because I said her slave name, right? But she knew Clayton, but she didn't know Aj. Ain't that something? So it took me that transition, you know. And so my cousin Jalil, One Love, if you're listening, Jalil only has one name. Khalifa, other cousin, one name. Shanique, one name. They named one of my cousins Afratia, which is I love. I've always Afratia, always loved the name, always. And when I would hear it, when I would say it, I knew one day I would be called to understand the Africa in Afratia. You know what I mean? Yeah, love that. You got Tahira. Tahira only has Tahira. She doesn't have the second name, and that's Amina's little sister, right? And you got Aisha, which is another Aisha is Amina's little sister. They only got one name. And I wanted my daughter to have a family name to connect her to her bloodline. And I gave her Tahira's middle name, Amantala. So Ayan is Ayan Amantala Tahimba Tulunagwe. Beautiful one who serves God, stand as a nation because God is with us. Again, the individual is not about you living your own African spirituality, ain't about you living your own life. That's wrong. It's about you living the life that God has imposed on your family. Your family has an identity that God was given by God. Seek the elders in your family. Maybe you can find out what it is. With that, I wait. I gotta get the video and drop it right. I can say one love, and I can't wait till next week. Worlds of Akivaland, understanding African spirituality. Hopefully, you got something new. We out.